Hey, and welcome everyone to Season 5 of the Ruin Hammer Live Show, where we talk all things One New Zealand Warriors. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight, we're going to discuss the Warriors' disappointing Round 9 loss to the Knights, take a quick look at the Round 9 results, and preview this week's Round 10 must-win, very important game against the Roosters at Allianz Stadium. Joining me tonight, as usual, is my good mate and co-host, Warrior Roo. Rob, how are you, mate? First of all, huge thank you to Brad Inger, who stepped in and helped out last week in my absence. Seems like forever that I've spoken to you, mate. How you been?
Yeah, I've been good. Yeah, thanks to Brad for jumping on at very last minute.
Yeah,
but yeah, he's always keen to talk footy, so I don't think it was a hard sell to him.
No.
But yeah, he did really well last week, as we knew he would. We know what we're getting with Brad, don't we? So
yeah,
yeah, we had a good chat. No, mate, I've been super busy. This weekend was absolutely hectic for me. I went on a massive road trip to Coffs Harbour.
yes.
So, which is kind of, if you're not from Australia or not from this area, it's kind of like halfway between Sydney and Brisbane, I suppose. Famous for the Big Banana. As you come up around the corner there, the Big Banana. What is it, like a theme park or something like that?
Yeah.
So I was there for my daughter is in a sports aerobics competition. So we had a big road trip down there. We left Friday afternoon. It's about a 4.5 hour drive now. We honestly got around the corner and Cody was like, "Are we there yet?" And I said, "Son, you've only got about 4 hours and 28 minutes to go." So that was fun. But we got there on Friday night and then we were there all weekend. She had her individual performance on Saturday morning and she got third, which was fantastic. And then she had a duo performance on Sunday morning and they got second. They would have gotten first, but their ending, where they were supposed to finish back to back and strike their pose, they just didn't quite get that part right. So we reckon if she'd nailed that, then they would have got first. So super proud of you, Dommy. Congratulations on picking up those medals, and made for a good weekend away, and just spent a bit of time at the Big Banana and looking around, and it's not a bad area, Coffs Harbour.
It's a nice area.
Yeah,
it's a nice area.
Subtropical kind of, a lot of good beaches. So
for the people,
family holidays.
For the people not familiar with the East Coast of Australia, the trip from Sydney to Brisbane used to take in all those towns and places along the coastline there, from Sydney all the way up to Brisbane. And now the only one that you do take in is Coffs Harbour.
And they're bypassing it now. They're working on a bypass.
Yeah, that's right. So a lot of those smaller towns have kind of suffered now that they don't get that tourist influx when people are travelling. And I know Danny and I have done that trip a couple of times in the past 12 months. Driven quite a bit up and back, and you don't see anything except Coffs Harbour. And then so it may affect their tourism in years to come when you don't have to drive through there as well. But yeah, it's a great place, nice place to visit. Congratulations to Dommy. Uncle Hammer was very proud of her.
Yeah,
mate. How did you find the theme park? What do you think of the Big Banana theme park?
It's been 30 odd years since I was last there, but it's good. It's good for the kids. Like a lot of good things. So they're doing ice skating, tobogganing, all this sort of stuff there. You sort of get in, but then you have to pay for everything individually when you're there. And you can get annual passes.
Yeah.
And Cleo was like, "Oh, let's just get annual passes. Like, when are we going to be back here in 12 months?" So but the kids enjoyed it. I remember years ago, about 30 years ago, you used to do this little ride around the plantation in the back of a train or something, and there used to be this fake bunyip that used to come out of the pond. Do you remember that, or the billabong?
Yep.
A very Australian thing to have.
I don't remember the theme park when we were growing up, though. I don't think that was that. I really don't think that was there. I
probably wasn't.
Yeah. I've done it once in the past, and I mean it's a good place for the kids.
It's legit just the banana plantation, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. For me, the best thing is the banana splits.
And I couldn't even have one because I'm doing bloody keto again. So
mate,
the kids got all those boiled sweets. I can't stand boiled sweets, but there's that lolly shop there, so they thought it was the best thing since sliced bread. But I don't think they've actually eaten any of them. So Yeah, but that was good. Yeah, good weekend away. How about yourself? How have you been? Good?
Yeah, good, mate. As I said to you off air, it's just, and I do apologise for everyone for not being available last week, and then we've pushed the show to tonight. Just changed my role at work and getting up at midnight to start work at like 1 o'clock every day, and then coming home. And I, for those that know what I do, I work in the waste industry. I've been in garbage trucks for the last couple of years, but I've kind of transitioned into a new role, a supervisory role in the office. So it's kind of part half and half. Do a little bit of the stuff out on the run, but doing a lot of stuff in the office, and it's kind of just mentally draining at the moment. Just not used to it, not doing this kind of work, so it's kind of throwing me a little bit. So yeah, I'm finding that I'm always tired, always ready for bed. But aside from that, mate, I'm fine. Had a good weekend last weekend. While you were heading south from your place to Port Macquarie, I headed south from my place. If anyone's familiar with the New South Wales South Coast, headed down to Robertson, to the famous Robertson Pie Shop on Sunday.
Better than Yatla?
Yeah, better than Yatla. Danny bought herself a new car, so we took that for a bit of a run on the weekend, which was great.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, this weekend, mate, with Mother's Day, looking forward to a Mother's Day feast on Sunday. And then I have stupidly bought tickets to go and watch the Warriors play at Allianz Stadium, which we'll get into soon. But, yeah, I know. But, mate, let's get into tonight's show. And before we do, as always, I invite you all, if you haven't already done so, to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and or the Facebook page to show your support of the streaming content we create. And I'd also like to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters and subscribers on all our social media platforms, and in particular, our generous Patreon subscribers whose donations and support enables us to continue to bring you the content and the guests you all enjoy so much. And speaking of that, just a reminder to everyone that has tuned in tonight, the reason we do the show live is to get the involvement of all of you guys watching. So please, as we move through the discussion points, join the conversation, leave your comments. But please be aware, we do have current and ex-players and their families that watch this webcast. So keep your comments respectful and refrain from making them personal or derogatory in nature. Let's get into it, mate. Let's talk about this game against the Knights, and in particular, our form over the past couple of weeks.
Boy, oh boy. Yeah, let's just get straight into it. As we seem to say a lot on this show, let's rip the Band-Aid off.
Yep.
Yeah, nothing pretty about this game, I'm afraid. Yeah, the Warriors, they travelled to the Hunter region of New South Wales North Coast to take on the Newcastle Knights at McDonald Jones Stadium, or like a patchwork version of McDonald Jones Stadium, I suppose. I've never seen a pitch in worse condition in years. I don't know what was doing there. The greenkeeper was on, but yeah, diabolical. Anyway, Warriors 8, Knights 14, and what was a dour, just punisher for watch of a game, to be honest.
Yep.
Walker got the try for us. Johnson 2 from 2. The Knights 14 points. Gamble, Saifidi, Gagai 3 from 3. I must preface this by saying that, as I mentioned, I was at Coffs Harbour. We didn't have the greatest reception at the hotel that we were staying at, which was literally right next to the Big Banana. So on Sunday afternoon, the kids all went to the theme park, and I was watching it through KO, but it kept dropping in and out. And so I probably saw about 2/3 of the game, but geez, that was a tough watch. Terrible conditions, patchwork field, and our poor form is just a massive concern. Massive concern. Like another game where we came up against an opposition that we should have beaten, a weakened opposition. No Kalen Ponga, no Tyson Frizzell. And like, again, on paper, we had a fairly good side. Very good side, actually. And unfortunately, once again, it's a side that just can't seem to put it together. More of the same of the last 3 weeks. There was a couple of controversial moments, a couple of disallowed tries. One of them, the DWZ mid-air tackle, which is a bit divisive. But, I mean, we had take that out of the equation, and we had more than enough ball at the back end of that game to win it. And at no stage did we either look like scoring or even look like winning the match. Had no faith in our attack whatsoever. It was more of the same. It was the side-to-side stuff trying to get the right edge. You're going to the right edge the whole time, trying to get Dallin over, but just not creating the space for him. Like the timing's completely off. We're passing too early, and he's getting the ball, and either himself or Berry are getting bundled into touch, as we saw in that last sort of 5-10 minutes. Like we were kind of camped on their line. We had the opportunity to level it up. We had the possession, and we just did nothing with it. And I don't know what the answer is. We hardly ever go to the left side, and then we resort to those barge overs. It's like we're out of ideas, so we try and turn it back on the inside and try and drop Adden in under the sticks or someone else, and they're just reading it. Like the Knights just were all over our attack.
Yep.
As I said, we just did not look like scoring whatsoever, and it was actually really, really difficult to watch. And yeah, it's the barge over. We resort back to the 2021, 2022 stuff of resorting back to the barge over or the crossfield kick, and I get that. We probably should have gotten something. We should have at least gotten a sin bin from the Dallin incident in the first half, right before halftime. Should have at least been a sin bin because it was an infringement while scoring a try, if not a penalty try. The whole argument that that they said it's not protocol or something to award a penalty try in that instance was rubbish because Graham Annesley came out and said it's up to the discretion of the referee. So if they're saying there's a blatant infringement, then why not a penalty try? But they don't want to do it because no one's ever done it before. You know, it's almost like, oh, we can't do that. We'll get blamed for affecting the result, blah, 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 whatever the reason was. But yeah, the fact is, like, that's the only way we look like scoring, like kicking it out to the wing, the crossfield kick. And I don't know. I'm glad I didn't get to see the whole game. I'm glad it kept dropping in and out because I would have just been ripping my hair out watching that. It was just frustrating. Just lack of discipline, lack of execution, and lack of like potency in attack is just such a massive concern from a team that scored so many tries last season. And yeah, mate, I don't know. How did you see it?
Mate, 3 penalties and 3 set restarts inside that opening 10 minutes that just gifted the Knights field position and possession. Probably sums up just was the preface of how that game was going to go. And we seem to be going where we'll have periods like the last game against the Titans where we started that opening 20 minutes, we were rock solid and we looked like we're going to run away with that game. And then we just don't play for 60 minutes. And this time it's the opposite. And then again, against the Titans, we had that final 13 minutes where, we were only 3 points down. We had every opportunity to score and we couldn't crack their defense. And people were raving about the Titans' defense, but we're not really throwing anything at them.
We did nothing at them. No, same as this week.
We did the same thing this week. We did the same thing against the Dragons. We did the same thing against Manly. And you go back to the beginning of the season where we were touted as one of the competition heavyweights. And, we lost that game against Cronulla after leading. I think we led that one 12-0.
12-0.
Yeah. And then offered nothing for 60 minutes in that game. Then we had that close loss to the Storm where we were like, oh, if only. And then we had a couple of wins in a row. And I think maybe the South's win maybe masked a lot of the problems that we're having because we came up against an opposition that is usually a good opposition. History shows that they've always been a strong side, the Rabbits, but they've, since round 11 last year, they'd only won 5 games. And they're a team under enormous pressure. And we came up against them and, put a score on them. And more that was maybe more so about how Souths are playing more so than how we're playing. Because you hit the nail on the head. We're doing a lot of this sideways shit out to the sidelines where no one's running forward. Everyone's kind of going across field. We're taking away the space from a guy like Dallin to be able to operate on the sideline. We're kind of taking away his space. Or we're doing that ball back on the inside, crash play close to the play the ball, which has never worked for us ever. I don't know, mate. It's that they had like 65% of the possession in the opening 25 minutes. And it wasn't because they were playing good footy. It's just we just gave possession over through errors or penalties and stupid penalties, cheap penalties.
Yeah.
So well. You spoke about the try or the no try to Dallin. Yeah, for me, that's a try every day of the week. It was a professional foul. It was a professional foul in the act of scoring, and the only thing that stopped him from putting that ball down was the fact that he was tackled in the air. Now they came out, they said, "Oh, well, you can't be so sure he was going to put the ball down." You go back and you watch the 25 tries he scored last year, and every single one of them was almost an airborne try. That this is a guy that knows how to jump and get the ball down. He's like Xavier Coates and Israel Folau from back in the day. But as you said, if it's not a penalty try, it's at least a penalty in a sin bin.
It's at least a professional foul.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess one of the shining lights of the game was Dylan Walker. I thought Dylan Walker's involvement in the game was very good. He brought a lot of energy when he came onto the field. His try was very good. But it's I don't know. One of the big things, and we're not going to go through and dissect the game this week because it's the same things that we've been saying week in, week out.
Yeah.
But one thing that's troubling me, and we're big supporters of Andrew Webster and his coaching, but his bench selections and then use of his bench is quite baffling. He's come out yesterday or today. He was asked about having Pompey on the bench and what benefit that has if they're not going to use him. And he's basically come out and said, Adam knows that he may not get on the field and he's only there as coverage for an outside back getting injured. Okay, I get that. Now that I know that, I'm fine with that because I know the Broncos got caught out a couple of weeks ago and Kevin Walters actually said the same thing. Like from now on, we'll keep an outside back on the bench. And I think they've done that. They've had Corey Oates a few times. They had Tristan Saylor a couple of times. I'm all for that. Like if we don't have a guy that can cover that specifically on our bench, I mean, you could probably use Dylan Walker as a shift into the centres and maybe move Berry or Roger out to the wing in that instance. But if he's got a specialist outside back on the bench that he knows he's not going to use, and at the end of the day, we have 8 interchanges that we can make, and there's no rule that says you have to use all 4 interchanges or all 4 bench players to make your 8 changes. So I'm quite happy if he wants to carry 2 forwards on the bench and a hooker and an outside back, and the hooker and the outside back don't get any game time. I'm happy with that because we do have middle forwards that play long minutes. I get that, but when they're
feels like a waste. Really,
it does feel like a waste. It does, especially when guys are struggling. And you're just trying to keep them out there to save that interchange. That's when it becomes an issue for me. And then we don't try and play favourites, but you have a guy like Zion Mayu who made his debut a couple of weeks ago and only got 13 minutes. But in that 13 minutes, he made 75 metres. Yeah, huge impact in the game. Ran with great energy, ran with purpose. We didn't lose anything when Adam went off the field or when Mitch Barnett went off the field and Zion came on. To him not being used at the moment as 18th man or on the extended bench, I don't understand that one at all. I would much rather see Zion getting some game time. I don't feel
confident that anything. After hearing that, I didn't actually watch or listen to the chat with Webby, but after hearing that, you get the feeling that he's going to stick with this kind of outside back on the bench, and I don't know, like it's not working. Nothing's working at the moment, but that just seems a little bit like wasteful of a bench spot.
Look, I get that he's not throwing his players under the bus in the media and he's not coming out and saying, all the things that we probably want to hear. He's saying, the boys are trying hard, and there's a few things not working. Where there's moments in the game that we're not winning, and we have to do this better and we have to do that better. And I'm pretty sure behind closed doors he's fucking ripping him a new one. Well, I hope he is.
I hope so. Yeah.
But there's guys out there that it kind of takes me back to the Stephen Kearney days, where regardless of how you play, you're going to keep getting picked for first grade. And Brad said, I really need another forward instead of Pompey against the Roosters pack this week. I agree.
With Spencer Leniu coming back into that team as well.
Yeah. I said, we've got Dylan Walker on the bench. And Dylan Walker, started his career as an outside back. He can fill in at centre if we do have an outside back go down.
Yeah, absolutely.
If Chance goes down, we got Roger that can go back to fullback. If Roger or Rocco go down, we've got Dylan Walker that can fill in in the centres, or if Montoya or DWZ go down, you've got Walker that can go to fullback, and you've got Rocco or Roger that can go to the wing. But so I don't see why carrying what the issue, why he's carrying Pompey. If he was carrying 3 front rowers and Pompey, I'd get it. But the fact that he's carrying Dylan Walker and Pompey, I don't understand that. I don't see what the benefit is.
There must be someone carrying a niggle. It has to be something like that.
Well, it's Sean.
Really worried about someone. Yeah, so who goes and plays halfback? So does Dylan Walker go into the halves?
Maybe
Sean comes out and then they do a complete shuffle, and yeah, it's a weird one. I put Pompey, at least if you're going to have Pompey on there, just let him come on as a forward. If you need a bit of rotation, come on as a edge forward, shuffle Barnett back to the front row, and
they did that.
It's just waste. It's just a waste. Really.
They did that against the Dragons. He got Gutho minutes at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And if anyone's wondering what Gutho minutes are, it's when Gutho played Origin and got
30
2
seconds.
minutes. 30 seconds at the end of Origin. Was it last year?
I think it was. Yeah, game 3 came on with 30 seconds to go.
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. People are saying Pompey there for kicking cover if SJ goes down. Well, we don't really need kicking cover because we're not scoring tries. So,
we're getting enough. We're getting enough points to worry about that. But I know what you're saying. Chanel's injured, isn't he?
Chanel's injured. Yeah, I'm just reading the comments. Yeah, Chanel's back after the bye. Metcalf back after the bye. They're missing Metcalf. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if Metcalf.
I don't know if he would have made any difference there. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we don't want to fall into that hater mentality where we're just negative on the team, but you've got to be realistic about what's going on out on that field. And I mean, on paper, if you look at the team on paper, that team is one of the strongest teams in the comp. You look at that team on paper, and it is a strong, strong team. And, going back 5 weeks ago, they were talking about Egan Origin. They were talking about Mitch Barnett for Origin.
And us as a premiership threat. It was after that Souths game.
There's 3 golden boots in that team. In Johnson, Tuivasa-Sheck, and Nickel Clockster didn't win it, sorry. But, I mean, we've got that team on paper is better than most teams running out playing footy at the moment. But
I agree with Ken. I think Tane needs to be in there somewhere.
I agree.
He added in his first few games, he added spark.
I said last year when we spoke about Tane after the signing of Roger, and what that meant for Tane in the fullback position. And I actually said last year and got laughed at by a couple of people that Tane shows all the attributes of being a good 14 that could transition into a good 6 for us. And he still has all of that. He's got.
Yeah, I spoke to his mum at the Dolphins game. She said he played 6 growing up as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's just, and it's not like we're losing the battle of the stats either. Like the game against the Knights and the game against the Titans the week before, we won. Like we had the better possession, we had the better completion rate, we had the more run meters, we had the more post contact meters.
Well, look at this week's game stats.
Yeah. Exactly. Same thing. We had 54% possession. We had 80% completion. We had 1,620 run meters compared to the Knights' 1,330. So it's like 300 more run meters. We had 100 more post-contact meters. But then, and our average set distance, we averaged 38.57 meters per set. The Knights averaged 31. But we're not converting any of that into points. It's our yardage sets are still good. We're getting out of our yardage zone really, really well. But then once we get over halfway, everything's sideways or one out or very pedestrian.
And then when we get that sustained attack on the line, that's when I feel the least confident that we're going to score. When we get a 6 to go, and we seem to be camped on their line, and we just can't seem to score. And then once, I don't know whether the guys get frustrated, and that's when they just resort to the inside ball, or they do the tohu out the back all the time. Like, it's overdone now, and everyone is expecting it. It's just predictable attack. It's not even troubling the weakest defenses that we in the competition at the moment.
No. Wade Egan had one run out of dummy half on the weekend. One run.
And he's one of our biggest offensive weapons as well.
Absolutely. But if you can't get out of your yardage area, he's not going to be running the ball in our 30 and 40 zone. So, look, we keep saying something's got to give, and it's just attitude, and the boys could turn it around. But we got two of the toughest assignments in the competition. We're playing the Roosters at Allianz. The last time we won there was 2018. I was at that game in 2018, and it was that was against all odds as well. Johnson was out. Mason Linnor came in. Yeah, we ended up beating the Roosters 30-6 that game, and then the week after we've got Penrith at Magic Round. We've got Roosters and Penrith into the Dolphins at home into the bye, and
I heard somewhere, can't remember where, but if we lose the next two games, then history is massively against us. There's only been one team, I think, in the history of the NRL to make the finals having a similar record. So if we lose the next two, and that was I believe it was Parramatta back in 2009 when they went on that massive run where Haynes caught fire.
Yeah. Well, Newcastle would have to have gone close last year
I think maybe they might have had the win other than the bye, if you know what I mean. Like we're 3 wins and 3 wins and a draw, so they might have been like 4 wins or something like that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, interesting. But yeah, mate, it's I don't know how much more we can talk about these results. It's frustrating from a fan's point of view. I mean, of course, we back the team 100% week in, week out. We have done, for the past 30 years. But it's going to be interesting to see. What will be interesting to see will be, because we've had sellout crowds at Mount Smart Stadium every game so far this year. We've got this 3-game road trip in Australia before we play the Dolphins in a couple of weeks. It's going to be interesting to see what the crowd figure is for that Dolphins game if we lose this week and we lose at Magic Round against Penrith. And not being like negative, but you've got to be realistic. And the Roosters have put on 100+ points in the past 2 weeks, and we've scored 32 points were scored in 2 weeks. So, all the odds are against us for getting wins in the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting.
It's a grim scenario.
It is.
Our Ruinhammer Player of the Year points. This was difficult. In a match like that, I went for 3 to AFB, 2 to Dylan Walker, 1 to Jackson Ford because he made so many tackles, but he did give away a few penalties and make a few errors. But I don't know. I found it really hard to get my to get my 1 point away.
Yeah, me too. I gave 3 to Adam, same as you. 2 to Dylan Walker. I gave 1 to Tohu. I just think, he's in a team of a lot of underperforming players on the weekend. He was probably the best of a bad lot out there. So that gave Adam 6, Dylan Walker 4, Jackson Ford and Tohu a point each, which means Adden's kind of streaked away. At the moment, he's on 28 points for the season. Chance and Tohu in second place on 12. Wade Egan on 11. Mitch Barnett on 10. Roger on 9, and then a whole heap of others rounding out the bottom there. So yeah, I don't know, mate.
Stevie's going to be there at Magic Round. I'm going to be there at Magic Round as well. So if you want to catch up, make sure you head to the Lord Alfred before the game.
Yep.
Head upstairs, Warrior Nation / Ruin Hammer event up there before the match. We're the 2:00 game, aren't we? So
we are.
Yeah, I'll see you up there, Stevie. We can talk about NBA.
I personally won't be at Magic Round this year for the reason that we'll be in New Zealand the week after. So
yes, we will be making as Ruin Hammer, we'll be making our Go Media / Mount Smart / Ericsson Stadium debut. So
we will. Yep. So we'll be
forward to that. Yeah,
we will be at the Dolphins game. There is a lot coming up for Warriors fans. So yeah, we've got the Magic Round event at the Lord Alfred on Magic Round. Obviously, the week after, as I said, Rob and I will be at Go Media Mount Smart Stadium to watch the Dolphins. On the 22nd of June, the Warriors take on the Titans at the Gold Coast. There is going to be a pre-game event at the locker room as per last year. And again, there will be a post-match event organised by the Warriors. We will give more information to that
Sporting
when it comes
Globe.
closer.
Sorry, at the Gold Coast, it's the Sporting Globe.
Sporting Globe.
Yep.
That's right.
Sporting
At Rabina
Globe there. Yeah.
The post-match event will be members only. So if you're not a member of the Warriors, an Aussie member, which only costs you $30 or something like that, get your Aussie membership now because you will have to be a member to attend the post-match function with the players. And then we're doing a similar one in Sydney when we play the Bulldogs in round 18, which I think is the 6th of July. There'll be a pre-game function at the locker room, which will be for any Warriors fans, but the post-match function, which will include the players, will be done at the Novotel, and that will be members only as well. So you will have to become a Aussie-based member or be an actual member coming across from New Zealand to be able to, attend those things. So we'll put more on our page as the information comes closer. But they're 3 events that or 2 events that you need to be a member to attend, and then you've got the Magic Round one as well, which is hosted by Warrior Nation and us as Ruin Hammer.
Yeah, there's no password for that one, Stevie, and it's the Lord Alfred Hotel, top of Caxton Street. You can't miss it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's almost opposite the Caxton Hotel and Suncorp Stadium, so you can't miss it.
Yeah,
has a real Warriors vibe, that pub. Come Magic Round, it's a great little place to
it is
to have a pre-game function. They do us great. The guys, the staff at the Lord Alfred. It's a wonderful place, mate. Just quickly before we move on to the other games in the round, the New South Wales Cup, the Warriors versus the Knights at McDonald Jones Stadium. The Warriors with a try right on full time to take out the win in that one, 12-7. And then our Pathways Jersey Flag team. They played out a 14-all draw against the Knights at Newcastle Centre of Excellence. So that's 2 wins and a draw now for our Jersey Flag in the past couple of weeks. So they got there after being, I think, 0-5 or 0-6 to start the year.
Pulling it back a bit.
Pulling it back a bit. So good to see we got 2 half-decent results on the weekend. And, hopefully this week we can get all 3. Should we look at the round 9 results, mate?
Let's go through it. So on Thursday night, round 9 kicked off with the Rabbitohs and the Panthers. A lot of interest in this one. The first game the Rabbitohs have played after sacking coach Andrew Demetrio, and Ben Hornby taking over. And there's a little bit of a myth going around that the teams that sack their coach always win the following week. I think that's happened occasionally, but it certainly didn't happen here. Panthers way too good, 42-12. Although the Rabbitohs did start well. I think they had a 12-6 lead, but yeah, Panthers ended up being too good. Garner with the double, Daruva, Schneider, Smith, May, and Tungo tries. Edwards 7 from 7, Rabbitohs 12, the speed machine Thompson getting over, and Hawkins tries, and Hawkins 2 from 2. Yeah.
The speed machine. Yeah, mate. The Bunnies, they just look to have no answers for that form slump they're currently in. They led 12-0 early, as you said, but that was as a result of Isaac Tungo being in the sin bin. They had that extra man advantage. The Panthers ran in 7 unanswered tries to run out pretty comfortable winners. It's the Panthers' third win in a row, so they're really starting to come into a bit of form now after an indifferent start to the season. And South, they just still can't escape the rumour mill of Wayne Bennett linked to them for season 2025. No, as much as people dismiss that.
He'll have to leave his job at the door at the Dolphins Leagues Club, won't he?
He will. I mean, the one thing for me too is they've signed, is it Lewis Dodd from the English Super League? And a player like that doesn't sign a 4-year deal to go to a club that's coming dead last if he doesn't know who the coach is, and there's so much uncertainty around it. So
yeah, I mean, Bennett was heavily involved too.
Absolutely. And he's been part of that English system for a while as the England coach. So it makes sense that there's something happening there. Made an interesting coincidence. You know how I like my obscure stats. Interim coach Ben Hornby. He lost this game 42-12 against the Panthers. Coincidentally, he lost his debut game as a player 42-12 against the Panthers in 2000. So first
like
person
this
to
again.
do that.
I reckon he might be the last as well. I can't ever see that happening again.
No, me neither.
Yeah, just quickly, Stevie, I couldn't agree with you more. Up the Timberwolves. Would love to see them win it this year. Okay, moving on to Friday night. Wow, what an interesting game this was. Seagulls versus Raiders at 4 Pine Park. Raiders 26, Whitehead with a double, Weeks, Kotrich, and Young tries, and Weeks 3 from 5. And over Eagles 24, Garrick with a double, Tom Travojevic, Talau, Cherry Evans tries, Garrick 2 from 5. They absolutely murdered a 20-0 lead.
Yep.
But once it's not us doing that, so that's great. But boy, oh boy, that's a king choke on your home deck.
Oh, absolutely. As you said, looked to be in complete control, led 20-0 before the Raiders mounted that remarkable comeback, which all started with that opportunistic try just before halftime with that little flick pass from Elliot Whitehead to Keanu Kinney, who was playing against his old club, the Seagulls, so that would have felt good for him.
KO Weeks.
KO Weeks, that's him. Costly loss for Manly, mate. They could have moved 3 points clear of their closest rival into the top 4. So, yeah, they'll be ruined, that one. An important win for the Raiders. They kept themselves in touch with the top 8.
Yeah, big win for them, especially to get one at Fortress 4 Pines. The second of your Friday night games was, of course, at Suncorp Stadium, of course, with the Broncos up against the Roosters. The Roosters flexed their muscles in this one. 40 points to 18 victory. Crichton with 2, May with a double, Manu, Watson, Young tries, Walker 6 from 7. Broncos 18, Ricky, Mam, and Staggs tries. Reynolds 1 from 1, Walsh 2 from 2. And I think we saw a bit of the Warriors' Reece Walsh come out in this game, kind of overplaying his hand a little bit, the young superstar.
Yeah.
A few errors there, and came back down to earth a little bit. But it was a contest when it got back to 18 all. And then the Roosters just pulled away, and they just had too much firepower for the Broncos. Adam Reynolds going down again. You got to think how many times can that happen before it has serious ramifications for their season?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. As you said, important win for the Chooks, following up that big Anzac Day win. The Broncos have been one of the form teams, so it's one that they'll tick off. And the Broncos were just outplayed across the park. They really struggled once Adam Reynolds went off the field. He looks like he'll be out for a couple of weeks now. And, of course, the Roosters finding some form just in time for that Mother's Day clash.
Right in the nick of time. Right in the nick of time. Amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Super Saturday. That started with the Bulldogs versus the Tigers at a core stadium in a very entertaining and spiteful game. Bulldogs 22. Man, why did we let him go? Curran and Sherry tries. Bronson Sherry. Burton 5 from 5 over the Tigers 14. Staines, Polle tries. Caesar 3 from 3. A game that the Tigers were in control for probably up to about the 50 or 55th minute. And the Bulldogs regained the ascendancy and they were able to close it out. Looking like another frustrating season for the Tigers.
I felt
like they're improving, but they're just struggling to close it out.
I felt for the Tigers. As you said, it was a close game with just that penalty goal separating the teams at the 55th minute. Bulldogs were up 16-14. But yeah, once the Bulldogs took that lead, the Tigers really started to tire late. They struggled to score points. They found it very hard to get out of their own half. Frustration set in for them. And then they had 2 players sent to the sin bin. Clemmer for the sent towards the referee. Seafarth for what they deemed was a headbutt. You know what? I mean, that was the last 5 minutes. And I mean, the Bulldogs didn't put any more points on them. Tigers, found a bit of resolve to finish that game with 11 men and not leak any further points in that last 6 minutes. But I'm telling you now, I'd love to see someone put one on Reid Marnie. He fucking shits me. I hate the fact
He's the new Mick Ennis.
Mate, ever since they've taken the biff out of the game, those little guys they know they're not going to get hit, so they're always in people's faces. And, mate, as an old school forward, I would love, Seafarth. I would love for somebody like a Jack Hetherington or something like that to just take one for the team.
Les Davidson.
Spend the rest of the season on the sideline and just knock the prick out. Because you saw it the week before when he arced up and he got sent to the bin the same time as Hetherington, and then Hetherington, on the field, Marnie's all fucking in his face, and then when they went off and Hetherington had to go at him in the tunnel, you could literally see the shit coming out of Marnie's pants as he was ushered away to the Bulldogs dressing room. I would love to see someone hit him. I fucking hate that shit.
Yeah, I know. It's so annoying, isn't it? Even worse when it happens to your team, or when you're playing against someone like that. It's just the worst.
Yep.
Yeah. Moving on to the second game of this Super Saturday, and it wouldn't be a Super Saturday without Shebus Super Stadium involved, and it was another entertaining game. The Titans 20 just getting edged out by the Storm 22 for the Titans. Forum, Sammy, and Brimson tries. If you can call Sammy's a try. Sammy, filthy Phil, getting away with one there. Phil. And then Munster, Warbrick, Pappenhausen, the very unlucky Pappenhausen continues, and Far-Longo tries. Meany 3 from 5. Bit of a seesawing affair. And a couple of really, really ordinary bunker calls in this one, wasn't there?
Yeah, I mean, the Titans put a massive scare into one of the competition heavyweights, pushed them for the entire 80 minutes. And it's one of those things, too, because we've spoken about the Storm. The Storm have won most of their games by 2 or 4 points this year. They haven't been the blowout. I think they've won one big scoreline. But they've escaped with a lot of wins right at the death this year as well. If it had to go the other way,
we know that.
Yep, absolutely. As the Titans, though, they've had the one win from their past 4 performances. Probably deserve to win all 4 of those games. The Golden Point loss to the Raiders, the loss to Manly by, I think it was 4 points in that one. They beat us, and then they've lost 2 points. To Melbourne. Excuse me. As you said, the big story was Ryan Pappenhausen injury, and he's going to be out for a couple of weeks there with whatever injury he's done. The other big story is David Fafita this week had to come out and he had to let the Titans know before kickoff tonight, round 10, that whether he was going to stay or activate the clause in his contract that allowed him to leave. He told them that he was going to leave, and then it's been announced tonight that he has signed a 4-year deal with the Roosters worth $3.3 million. So everyone thought he might have gone to the Panthers, but yeah, he's ended up at the Roosters. They've got that huge war chest now with a couple of players leaving. Closer to the beach.
Not that they needed that.
No. And I said in our little group chat too, I said there's probably a little thing there too with his partner, Shaylee Bent, who is a Sydney-based girl, moved up, always played NRLW for the Dragons, moved up to the Gold Coast to be closer to Dave, and played for the Gold Coast last year in the NRLW. She'll obviously move back to Sydney too, and there's obviously a spot there in that Roosters roster for her. So it'd probably be a kind of a package deal like the Knights did with Millie Boyle and Adam Elliott a couple of seasons back.
Yeah.
Panthers not having a women's team, there's nowhere for her to go to play. So that was probably one of the things that got him over the line. Because I'm sure, two tough choices, isn't it? Roosters, Panthers, who do I go and play for? But yeah, massive story, that one. Going to be interesting to see how that affects the Titans moving forward this season and how that affects Tino. Because I think a lot of people have forgotten about Tino because he's not playing, he's out injured. Whether Tino looks, because I don't know what clauses Tino has in his contract as well, when his contract's up. So that'll be an interesting one to watch.
Yeah, I mean, he's given the Titans probably 4 good years, and they haven't really shown any improvement since he's been there. So it's probably like done my dash here, moving on to greener pastures. So he thinks. So we'll see how that goes. The third game of Super Saturday, that was it was an entertaining Super Saturday, it must be said, for a neutral observer. The Cowboys versus the Dolphins up at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. And it was the Dolphins getting away with a 28-26 victory. Cowboys coach Clint Howard would be ripping his hair out if he had any. They are almost as frustrating to watch as we are at the moment. They can score points, but they just are really struggling to defend their errors. And the Dolphins getting away with a 28-26 win. Asako 3, Tessie New, Avarillo tries. Asako 4 from 5. Cowboys 26. Nanai Felt, Cotter, and McIntyre tries. Holmes 3 from 5. A seesawing back and forward game that is probably not good for either coach's heart, either coach's ticker. But how'd you see this one?
Yeah, I thought the Dolphins showed a lot of grit to run the Cowboys down, especially at their home ground up there at Queensland Country Bank Stadium. It's obviously a tough place to go and play footy. Jermaine Asako, he got his 3rd career hat-trick. It was his 2nd against the Dolphins. He scored a hat-trick against the Dolphins at the same venue last year. As you said, mate, the Cowboys, they're like us. They've now lost 4 on the trot. While the Dolphins, they continue to find a way to win despite being without some big names in Flegler, Farnworth, and the Hammer. So, they're ticking along nicely, the Dolphins. Like in that middle of the mix in the top 8, but kind of under the radar, I think, a little bit.
They are, yeah. A lot of people, I think, are underestimating them. And as you said, they're down on personnel, but when they get their players back, they could really make a push for a maiden finals appearance.
Yeah, I think they can.
Sunday was our game versus the Knights. And we'll be damned if we're going to talk about that one again.
No.
And then rounding out the match of the day was the Sharks versus the Dargans.
The Dargans, mate. Yep.
The Dargans, yes, at PointsBet Stadium. And the Sharks did enough to see out the Dargans. Kafusi, Talakai, and Hazleton tries 4 from 4 to the Dargans 10 points. Ravalawa with a double and Lomax 1 from 2. A bit of a dour sort of game this one. Not great conditions, but local derby always brings the best out in both sides, I suppose.
Yeah, I thought the Dragons let this one get away from it because they looked like they were in control for a good portion of this game. And then, the Sharks, they just continue on their winning ways. But for me, they're still yet to come up against any of the real competition heavyweights.
It's coming. It's coming.
Yeah,
in the next few weeks.
It is. They've got their first big test this week, and we'll look at that very soon. But Melbourne have got a lot of people out. There's no Jerome Hughes, no Pappenhausen, no Xavier Coates. So, 3 big names in their backline not playing. It might be a great opportunity for the Sharks to get Melbourne at the moment, and then beat their chest and tell everyone they can beat top 8 sides.
I see, we did.
But the Dargans, how fucking ridiculous was that someone can't spell check that?
That's worse than the Tigers Centre of Excellence that had, was it their premiership year in the wrong season or something like that?
Yep. Yeah, that did. That's right. Yeah, this is just woeful. And poor Jack Bird's got to hang that jersey on his wall now.
Yes.
For
Surely
his
they're going to fix
150th
that for him.
milestone. But it's like a couple of weeks ago when Munu Brown played his debut game for the Dragons. They had his debut game as like 10th of June or something like that. So it was in the future. So
He traveled back through time. Cyberdyne System 101.
someone's got to get sacked at the Dragons, mate. And the Eels had the bye. True Gutho minutes for all players at the Eels on the weekend. Mate, how's the ladder looking?
Yeah, well, Sharks, as we were just saying, remain at the top of the competition ladder. Storm in second. They're both on 16. Panthers are on third, 14. The Dolphins back to the top 4 on 12. Sea Eagles are in fifth on 11, with the Roosters, Broncos, and Bulldogs rounding out the top 8 on 10 points each. Raiders in ninth, also on 10th. Cowboys, Knights, Eels, and Dargans are on 8 points. Warriors, geez, we've slid down the ladder to 14th spot on just 7 points. Season really starting to get away from us. Tigers in 15th on 6th, and the Titans and the Rabbitohs rounding out the ladder. They're both on 4 points.
Mate, 3 weeks ago we were 5th.
Yep. Crazy.
When we drew that game against Manly, we were in 5th and Manly were in 6th.
While stringing wins together is so valuable, equally as devastating is stringing losses together.
Yeah, that's true. And it's always said you can't win a premiership in May, but you can fucking certainly lose one. And
can certainly lose one.
Yeah. Mate, moving on to round 10. Let's take a look at the Warriors team that Webby's named for this week against the Roosters at Allianz Stadium. Before we do, I know you're a bit of a history buff. Have you got any history for us on away games against the Roosters?
I certainly do. So overall, we've played 46 matches against the Roosters. I'm surprised it's actually this close. So Roosters have won 23 and we've won 22. I'm actually genuinely surprised.
Is that
all told? Is it? All up. Yeah, all up. So, yeah, like our away games. So in Sydney, the Roosters have won 13 to our 10. I'm surprised we've won that many games in Sydney.
Yeah.
The overall, what is one of the more telling stats is overall, the Roosters have scored 1,063 points, and we've only scored 796. That's it. Okay. Overall, head to head. So, yeah, well, geez, wouldn't it be great to even it out this weekend and make it 23 wins all? Yeah, as you mentioned, the last time we've beaten them though was in 2018, round 4, I believe it was, at Allianz Stadium. We had that famous win where Sean Johnson was out, and then before that, like our recent history against them is diabolical. Last year, even though they played like bustards, we lost to them twice. And yeah, again, another recent bogey team of ours.
Yep. What's the team look like this week, mate? Is there many changes?
Not as many as I would have thought or maybe even hoped for, but the team that Webby named on Tuesday: Chance the Cook looks third fullback, Dallin and Marcelo Montoya on the wings, Rocco Berry and Roger in the centres, Tamade Martin, Sean Johnson in the halves. Up front, Adam Fanor-Blake, Wade Egan and Bunty Afoa moving into the starting side. On the edge, we've got Jackson Ford, Mitch Barnett moving out to the edge, and Toku Harrison 13. On the bench, Dylan Walker, Tom Ale, Jazz Tavanga, and of course, Adam Pompey. And the extended bench, number 18, Jacob Laban, and then Tane Tuapiki, Zion Maiu, Ed Kossi, Freddie Lussick, rounding out the squad. Look, yeah, I think some of these outside backs are on thin ice, and I think we need to shuffle it up somewhere. I definitely think that Tane, I'd love to see Tane, put Tane on the bench instead of Pompey. Tane can come in and play like he could do a backup dummy half role. He could slot into the halves. If he's worried about injuries to an outside back, put him in there. I know he's not as a bigger body as Pompey, but I just think he would add a little bit of extra spark and just maybe ignite our offense a little bit. I'd love to see Zion come in there again. I don't hold any confidence in that. Yeah, I think a couple of these guys in the back line, this could be their last chance saloon. And yeah, there's a few guys like Ed Kossi has been on the extended bench for the last few weeks. As we said, Tane out there for us, could fill in a spot in the back line somewhere. So, what were your thoughts on the team, and what do we need to do to be better?
Again, I won't say I'm disappointed in the selections. It doesn't surprise me, but yeah, I was kind of hoping that there might have been a bit of a shake-up just to give some of these guys a bit of a kick in the ass and let them know that they're not indispensable. I get very disappointed in the fact that a guy like Zion Mayu isn't on the bench. I just think that he would bring so much. We saw what he can do in the trials, again, especially against the Tigers in that Tigers trial beginning of the year, and he backed that up when we played. Was it the Titans? He made his debut against
Titans.
Yeah. So I was really hoping that he'd be in. But yeah, I mean, we keep saying it in Webby we trust, and we do. We have faith in him. We're not going to throw him under the after a couple of bad performances.
We're not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah,
no,
for sure.
But they certainly have to start turning it around. And as I said, like even if we don't get the win against the Roosters this week, if we can see some improvement in some of those effort areas, that I'll be happy, because as I said, the Roosters have scored 100+ points in the past 2 weeks compared to our 32. They're welcoming back Jerry Hargraves, Daniel Tupu on the wing, Victor Radley. It means that they've got their strongest back seven in Tedesco, Tupu, Swatali'i, Manu. Who else is in that Roosters backline? Kiri, Walker. So
they're all a bunch of players in form, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
Dreadlocks.
Dom Young.
Yeah,
that's him. Dreadlock, the Predator.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's their strongest backline. Their bench is strong. As I said, they've proven they can score points
all over the park, all across the park. There's threats.
Our big one is going to be minimising that high error count, minimising the penalty count, and reducing our missed tackles. At the beginning of the year, we're averaging 15 missed tackles a game. We're up to now 37.
It's gotten out of control ever since that Dragons game.
Yeah. After the Rabbits game, we were the best defensive team in the comp, and now we're ranked like 12th or something like that. So a lot of things we need to turn around. Again, our back three are going to get our set started really well. DWZ, Montoya in particular, they return the ball with a lot of energy in our yardage sets. So does Chance. We need SJ if he's. I know he's playing a little bit injured, but he really needs to start involving himself in the play a little bit more. Last couple of weeks, he's just kind of catch pass. He hasn't taken on the line. Yeah, a bit tentative.
Got to get deep into the line.
Yep.
Deep in the line and start making that space. Yeah,
it's been a lot of crossfield stuff. Tamati Martin, I keep saying it week in, week out, he really needs to start stepping up, give SJ a bit more support. Barnett and AFB, you know that they're going to, be our meter readers in the middle, along with Tohu. We get an adrenaline shot when Walker comes on. Jazz is going to be the interesting one. We know he's had a couple of mistakes in him this year, and I don't know if that's because he's just trying to prove his point to Webby that he should be in the 17. He's just got to keep a level head and play the game that he played last year. We need Egan out of dummy half a lot more. He hasn't run from dummy half the past 2 weeks. I was actually surprised last week that he didn't go off for HIA. He got that heavy knock early, and then they never really looked at it. And then, of course, Rocco Berry, he leads the way with our kick chase. But, yeah, as I said,
we need a lot more from him. We need a lot more from Rocco Berry. He's just really not a feature in our offense. Apart from that kick chase, I get that he's solid and he makes his tackles. Though even the last couple of weeks, he's been missing a few tackles. And I get that he does that stuff off the ball and everything, but that's only really of value when the team is playing well and doing its role. Like, I get that he's the first chaser there, tackle in the corner, keep them down there, but we're just not keeping them down there anymore.
No.
When the game plan that we have is just not, I guess, being executed in a way that we're really utilizing Rocco. He's struggling a bit in attack, and you've got to wonder how long before Ali Leatawa comes into the side.
Well, by all reports, you'd say that Pompey gets first dibs. At that, if one of those centre positions is gone, goes, it'd be Pompey. He's the one that's kind of in the mix at the moment. And I mean, he did a job last year for us, Adam Pompey. There's a lot of hate
in
for
a
him.
Side that was playing well, and
that's right.
Everyone was doing their roles, and that game plan was working like a treat. But it's just these kind of guys are now getting exposed when it's not going well.
Have we been worked out and we haven't evolved? We're still playing the same game plan that we played last year that got us a lot of success, and we kind of have reverted back to that. But teams have moved on from that defensively as well.
Does feel like that. Yeah, they're reading that right hand side sort of slingshot.
Yep.
And we've gotten. Haven't had much joy there. Dallin has had a couple of tries, but it's his usual sort of diving into the corner, inches, centimeters, sort of involved in it. So
yeah, mate. Who's your danger man for the Roosters in this game? Who if there was one guy that you would you'd have, like if you were Coach Webby and you were in the room talking to the boys, who would be the one player that you'd have them really be aware of this weekend?
Oh, so many. They got to watch out for Manu sort of roaming around. Keep an eye on him. Have to try and keep him quiet. Have to limit Tedesco's impact from the back.
Yep.
And that forward pack, like we've got to get on top of that huge forward pack. And they've got all that energy coming off the bench as well. With Spencer Leniu finally coming back, he'll be chomping at the bit. Yeah. Jared Warrior-Hargrave's 300th game. I mean, geez. What more motivation do they need? So we got to win the forward battle. We got to defend well. We can't miss 37 tackles for sure, and we have to throw a bit more at them than side to side, barge over, crossfield kick. Yeah,
the one for me is Sam Walker. He's got that great kicking game, and I don't know if it's because of who his dad is and his uncle, and playing in that Sunshine Coast Falcons side a couple of years ago. But he sees the game a little bit differently than most halves. He's not a conventional half, which makes him really unpredictable and really dangerous. And he's a confidence player too. And he's coming off the back of two really good games that he's had against the Dragons and who they beat last week.
Broncos.
Whoever it was. Broncos. Dragons and Broncos. So he'll have a bit of a spring in his step. But yeah, you spoke about the bench. The bench for me, big and mobile. They got White, Leniu, Terrell May, who had a fucking huge game last week, and then you put Connor Watson on there, who can play as an extra 14.
He's there, Walker. He's there, Dylan Walker. Yeah,
absolutely is. Very, very dangerous. What do you, without putting your Warriors glasses on, mate? If you had to pick an honest result in this game, what are you picking?
Look, I have to be completely honest here. And the first time I've done this, for this season, but I think, mate, Roosters by 12, and I think that's being a bit generous. I have to say it.
I've said the exact same. I think Roosters by 12. As much as it kills me to say it, even more so because I'm going to be sitting there watching it live in the stands at Allianz, which is a great place to watch footy, by the way.
It is. Well, it used to be when I've been to the old one. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it'll be Roosters by 12, and that's going to kill me more so too because my two sons, my two oldest boys, are coming along, Daniel and Kane, and they're both Roosters supporters. So. I know.
You'll be hearing about it. Could be a very long Mother's Day for you, mate.
Absolutely.
Absolutely,
it could.
Yeah, I actually know a few Roosters fans as well, and they are extremely annoying.
Yeah, they are.
And I mean, I'd love to be wrong. Please, I'd love nothing more to be wrong. But got to be realistic about it, eh?
We do. Mate, let's take a quick look at the remaining round 9 games and give our tips.
The game has just kicked off, which would be underway at the moment.
Will.
We got Panthers versus the Bulldogs at Bluebet Stadium. Panthers, Paul Alamotti named in the centres for Isaac Tungo. Nathan Cleary renamed at halfback. Bulldogs, Blake Tuff named at fullback. Kurt Mann named at lock. Jacob Preston on the bench. Look, as good as the Bulldogs have been and the improvements that they've made, I think the Panthers will be too strong, and I think they'll give a good account of themselves, the Bulldogs. But I'm going to go Panthers 1-12.
Yeah, I think the Panthers. Nathan Cleary back's a big one. Panthers 14. I'll say.
Oh,
Panthers
sorry.
That's Friday night.
That's a Friday. Sorry,
Yeah,
I've jumped the gun.
That's all right. The Thursday night game, I'll say Thursday night game is the Dolphins Seagulls. That's one that's just kicked off.
Sorry, that has just kicked off. Apologies. I'm all over the shop.
For the Dolphins, Herbie Farnworth's back for the Seagulls. Lachlan Croker's out. Carl Lawton starts at hooker, the Mad Dog. Ben Trebojevic returns from injury in the back row. Gordon Chan Kum Tong, he's named on the bench. I don't know what's going on there, but I think I'm going to say the Seagulls. I'm going to pick the Seagulls in a close one by 6.
Yeah, I'm going to go see Eagles by 8. Yeah, I know, Brad. I can't always be fresh. I need you back on to keep me in line.
Yeah.
So I've already done your first Friday night game, as you just touched on.
Go again. Go to the next one.
Yeah, second game of Friday is the Eels versus the Broncos at Combank Stadium. This is an interesting one. Gutho is out injured. Blaze Talangi named at fullback. Sean Russell in the centres. Ethan Sanders and Dylan Brown in the halves. The Cardi party, it's back on, baby. Get out your glow sticks and the whistles.
Yep.
On the bench, he's back, returning from injury, Bryce Cartwright. Dejan Arce named on the extended bench. The Broncos, Corey Oates on the wing to replace injured Jesse Arthurs. Josh Rogers at halfback for the injured Adam Reynolds. And Jack Guzevsky on the bench for the Broncos. Geez, a tough one to pick. I'm going to go the Broncos in a close one. Broncos 1-12.
I've actually tipped the Eels in this one, mate. I'm going to say the Eels by 6. Yeah, I know. Okay. Don't know why. But yeah.
No logic, no rhyme or reason to it, but yeah.
Super Saturday kicks off at Scully Park in Tamworth, the place where I have played many a game of footy. Tigers versus the Knights. The Tigers, Stafford is named in the centres. Brett Naden moves to the wing. Jaden Sullivan named at halfback for the suspended Aidan Caesar. Api Coruscant returns from his back injury. Samuela Fino named in the back row with Isaiah Papali'i named at lock. For the Knights, Tyson Frizzell returns from injury, which means Dylan Lucas moves back to the bench. I'm going to tip the Tigers by 4.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a real close one. I'm going to go the Knights by 2 with no real confidence.
Yep. The second game is the Dargans versus the Rabbits at Netstrata Jubilee Stadium. For the Dargans, Moses Sully returns from injury in the centres. Zach Lomax moves to his favourite position on the wing. A lot of changes for the Rabbits. Latrell Mitchell returns at fullback for the injured Jai Gray. Gehamat Shibasaki named on the wing in his debut game.
Hasn't he?
He has, mate. Mickey Cheekham named in the centres. Dion Tiapa named at halfback. Sean Kepi named in the front row. Saliva Havili named at lock. Tallis Duncan and Matt French are named on the bench. And Alex Johnston named on the extended bench. Could be a late inclusion. Mate, I'm going to take the Dargans in this one. Dargans by 10.
Yeah, I think the Dargans will... I think Rabbitohs will be much improved. I think Dargans by 4.
Yeah. And the final game of Super Saturday, which I can't believe is not the Channel 9 game of the round, the Storm versus Sharks at Amy Park. For the Storm, Sua Fa'alongo, he's named at fullback for the injured Ryan Pappenhausen. Grant Anderson named on the wing for Xavier Coates. Tyrone Wishart named at 5'8", with Cam Munster moving to half for the Sharks. No changes for the Sharks 17. Mate, I'm going to tip the Sharks in a close one. Sharks by 2.
Yeah, I'm going to go Sharks by 6. I think they'll get the job done, and as you said, they'll be beating their chests.
Yep.
All right, moving on to Sunday. So our game is first up, 2:00 against the Roosters at Allianz Stadium. You're going to be there, aren't you?
I am going to be there, mate. Yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it's an important game. For me.
Yeah, for me, it's a crucial one. For me, it's must win.
Absolutely.
Daniel Tupou returns from injury. Jared Weir-Hargraves returns in the front row for his 300th game. Or 300. No, he's already had his 300th game, hasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he has.
300. Yeah. Victor Radley named at lock. Connor Watson back on the bench. Spencer Leniu, of course, returns from suspension. Warriors, Kurt Capewell out. Mitch Barnett named in the back row. Bunty Arfo in the front row. Jas Tavanga named on the bench. we've both given our tips. We both reckon the Roosters by 12. Reluctantly, we've gone that way. And the match of the day is somehow the Titans versus the Cowboys. And that's at Sheba Stadium. The Titans, AJ Brimson named at fullback. Chris Randall named in the halves. Sam Verrills named at hooker. Keanu Kinney on the bench. Cowboys, no changes to the 17. I think they're finally going to get another win here, the Titans. I think it'll be a close one. Titans by 6.
Yeah, I got Titans by 12. I think, I think they've been very unlucky in 3 of their last 4 games. And I think this week,
super unlucky. Yep.
They put it together. And the Raiders have the bye, which will keep them in the top 8. So that's the round preview. Next week, we'll be back live on Wednesday, 15th of May at 7 p.m. to review this round 10 game against the Roosters. And we'll preview Magic Round next week, and in particular, our game against the Panthers at Suncorp Stadium. Magic Round, always a great weekend. So, make sure you join us next Wednesday night.
Yeah, exactly. And before we wrap it up for the night, again, I just want to acknowledge and thank our wonderful supporters, especially you guys on Patreon, for your continued support, and give a special shout out to our wonderful gold tier Patreons. That's Alf Tualave, Malcolm Earnshaw, Chris Wellington, Nigel Phillips, Lisa Marie Bateman, Sean Whiskey, Ken Wills, Stevie Williams. Hope you guys are enjoying the shirts that you would have received in the past couple of weeks. And all you other gold Patreons, don't forget to get in touch with us and we'll organize your next round of T-shirts. We really do appreciate you guys so much. The contribution and support really does go a long way to covering all our costs. So we really do give a big shout out to you guys. If you do want to show your appreciation and support, you can head to our Patreon page, subscribe to our bronze tier, general support level, or our silver and gold tiers, which does include supporter merchandise and other benefits, including a live watch. We're going to have a live watch coming up soon, aren't we? So we'll put out an invite to some of you Patreon guys to get you guys to come on and watch a game with us. Always a bit of fun. And another great way that you can show your support is to head to our Redbubble store and grab yourself some Ruin Hammer merchandise. Now, guys, I've done some fantastic new designs for Wade Egan. I've done one for RTS. I've done one for Tohu. And plenty more designs come up. Grab yourself a Past Legends, Simon Mannering shirt. Everything designed by us, and every bit of merchandise that's sold, we get a small percentage of it comes back to us and goes a long way to helping support what we do here at Ruin Hammer. So jump onto our Redbubble store, grab yourself a bargain.
Absolutely. On that note, that's it for tonight's show. Again, I want to send a massive thank you to Brad Inger, who filled in for me last week. He's always great to have Brad on. So thank you very much, mate. Thank you to all of you who continue to support Rob and I at Ruin Hammer here. Very much appreciated. If you're heading out to the game on Sunday, make sure you come and say hello. Always happy to meet other Warriors fans out at the games. So, come and say hello. I want to wish all the mums a happy Mother's Day.
Yeah, happy Mother's
Sunday.
Day to all.
Yep. And we will see you all next Wednesday night.
Thanks, guys. Take care, everyone, and up the wires.
Up the wires.